Hey, what's up guys, Pallab here from nothingwire.com, and today the Samsung Galaxy S7 and hopefully the S7 will get launched, and we are planning to do this launch video slightly differently. So instead of focusing totally on the phone itself, we're trying to cover the whole launch event as well in slightly vlogging style. So I just got ready, the cab is waiting, and we're just gonna cover what's there in for the S7 and the S7 Edge. Stay with us. So the S7 was priced, I think, close to about $699, and the S7 Edge was $799. You would get it for $28 and $33 with a 2-year contract. We don't know the price here exactly, but if you translate that in India prices, I think that comes close to about 50,000 for the S7 and about 55,000 for the S7 Edge. Now we're about to enter the venue. Yeah, they'll know.
I'm really happy to see you. Today is another important day in our journey. I want to share 2 new coming smartphones from today.
I like his 360-degree presentation style. The VR is definitely coming along.
We're really excited that we can bring this autumn in Asia. So pre-booking opens from today onwards, to the 8th of March to the 17th of March.
Yeah, so like the presentation. So now you know the dates, March 18th S7 for just over 48,000 and S7 Edge for 56,900. It's a steep price, but of course those are the flagships. You know, we're going to the demo zone, so probably we'll have a close-up look at both these devices. Also, the great news is that if you pre-order before 17 March, you get the Galaxy VR free with either of these devices. Now, when you add the cost to that, I know the cost, but I assume that's really close to about 9,000 Indian rupees. When you add that cost, then things get a little more interesting. So there's the demo zone. What do we have here? Galaxy S7, S7 Edge. So first, we have all these accessories. So you see that the wireless charger, they all support fast charging, this wireless chargers, and this one supports quick charging 2.0. So apparently about 60% battery in 30 minutes. That's what they claim. These are, it's the dot view cover, right? Acha, okay. These ones are dot view covers, right? And that's the Galaxy VR. Then of course we've seen that with the Note 5 as well. Keyboards. They work with both the S7 and the S7 Edge,
yes,
right?
Both of them actually. For the back
Right.
cover, you can use keypad.
Right. Those and some of those accessories you can see here. Let's quickly move on to the phones now. So there, as you must have seen in the presentation, we get the dual SIM version, and it's also a dual SIM, but it's a hybrid SIM tray. So if you want to use the micro SD card here, which by the way supports up to a maximum of 200 GB, you have to forego the second SIM. So you see, Nano SIM or micro SD card. Then I think possibly, so that's how IP68 works. So the spec sheet says that you can keep it under up to 1.5 meter of water for maximum of 30 minutes. But more likely it will save you from rain or probably just a splash of mud, but not much. So can we have an S7? So that's the S7. So probably can just go down here. Sorry, I hope I didn't break the glass. So apparently it can stay there for about 30 minutes. But a thing to note here is that even the spec sheet says that once it's wet, you cannot use the screen of this device, unlike some of the Sony Xperia devices. But I seem to be able to use the device, at least the home screen's working here. But probably it's not that wet. Yeah. So it's partially working, you can see. It's a good news. So it's not that the screen is totally non-responsive, I can still walk something on it, but I guess when it's inside water, at that time the screen gets totally non-responsive. Thank you, ma'am. So yeah, there's the S7 and the S7 Edge. This one's priced at just under 49,000 and just under 57,000. This one's the bigger one of both, 5.5 inch screen. This one is a 5.1 inch screen. Both have 2K resolution, 5 MP front camera, 12 MP back camera, and almost all the spec sheet are same. Now remember, in India we get the Exynos version, so Exynos 8890 chipset. Both have 4 GB version. This one is slightly thinner than the S7, just a tad bit thinner and tad bit heavier because of the bigger battery. This one has a 3000 mAh battery, 3600 mAh battery. Let's take a close look at both the phones now. Finally managed to get the phones out in the natural light so that I can show you the phone better. So first we'll talk about the hardware. That's the S7 and that's the S7 Edge. We'll come to the S7 Edge in a bit. We have a 5.1 inch screen as opposed to the 5.5 inch screen here. Both 2K resolution, as I told you before. A Gorilla Glass 4 protection both on the front as well as on the back out here. They look a great deal like the Note 5 rather than the S6. So you have same metal ring here, which is exquisite. It's a very good matte finish, and then glass on both sides. So that way it's like the S6, because the S6 is the first device to come up with that. But you have this curved back to hold the phone better. That comes from the Note 5 gene. A 5 MP front camera and then a 12 MP back camera. Now note that the previous Galaxy S had 16 MP camera. This one has 12 MP. They trimmed down the resolution because they made the pixels bigger, 1.4 microns. It also has a slightly bigger sensor size, 1 by 2.6 inch, and the same 1.7 aperture. It's a very fast aperture both on the back as well as on the front camera on both these devices, same. Now it also has what Samsung calls as a dual pixel technology. That's a part of a PDAF, face detection autofocus system. You might know that Canon 70D had a dual pixel technology. What it does is that all the pixels in the sensor have two diodes on both the sides. One diode is used to take up the light. So before, both the diodes were used to take up light, but now each pixel had one diode that takes up the light and another diode that autofocus. So 100% of the pixel also help in autofocus. That makes the whole autofocus system very, very fast. We'll probably explain this in a later video, but this one should be extremely fast. We're gonna test that. And then you have sensors and the LED flash. Very nice, very premium body. Now when you talk about the user interface, it comes with Marshmallow out of the box. You see we have the settings out there, and then the about device software info, you see 6.0.1, and then we have storage. This comes in 32 and 64 GB variant, but as I told you before, the micro SD card supports up to max of 200 GB. So it has a brand new trimmed down TouchWiz, but still you get all Samsung look here. There is no escaping the Samsung look, and it's bone deep into the stock Android. So you have the usual Samsung in-house apps, the Google Android apps, some of the third-party apps as well that you cannot exactly uninstall, but you can disable always. Let's go ahead and check out the camera. It's very, very fast. S6 camera was one of the best in the market, and I don't expect anything less from the S7 camera. And it already has been getting rave reviews. The 12MP, you can see 4:3 aspect ratio and 4:3 aspect ratio. In 16:9 you have to come down to 9.1 MP. That's a disappointment for me because the sensor is not a wide angle sensor. You have some of the other settings around here. Max video sizes stay same, UHD. So that's about the S7. The S7 Edge basically has the same specifications, only it has a bigger screen, 5.5 inch screen. You can see the edges around here. That makes the phone slightly thinner than this one. It has a bigger battery, 3600 mAh battery. But what really interests me are this new edge screen. So you now have an app edge, you have a task edge. That's really, really important. You can have your hot task or your favorite tasks here. You can just swipe in and go to that particular task. And then you also have people edge, that was before as well. And then you also have the news scrolling in. So if you're, let's say, traveling somewhere, you just want to use this phone one hand, you can just go scrolling there. And Kim Kardashian, not bad. Kim Kardashian's naked photos ahead of Women's Day. Well, not bad to start the day with. Anyway, so the apps and all stay almost the same. Yeah, so while you had a first look at the S7 and the S7 Edge, probably I'll make some more videos like the benchmarks and gaming testings if the time permits. You can check that on the dedicated videos. But that was the first look at the S7 and the S7 Edge. They look great, but I'll give you my first thoughts, my first impressions, pros and cons just a little later. But at the end of the day, you gotta make a decision of buying or not buying the phone. So let's talk about some of the pros and cons of the S7 and the S7 Edge. Pros, number one, and my personal favorite, is the PDAF, what Samsung calls as dual pixel autofocus system. It's crazy accurate, it's crazy fast, and I think it's kind of matches the Canon 70D's metal, and I'm serious about it. Number two is that they have increased the battery life, or the battery at least, 3000 mAh for the S7 and 3600 for the S7 Edge. Now, well, that's not class leading, but you also have quick charging 2.0, so that's going to help immensely. Number three is that the phones now got IP68 certifications, so a little bit of rain, a little bit of dust not going to harm your phone. Number four is that Samsung, this is something new, okay? Samsung has done great improvement to their overall after sale services. You now got door-to-door after sale services. They will pick it up from your home if needed, and also other things like you can live chat straight with the Samsung support guys. So that's immensely helped in building an ecosystem. And then this one is for the S7 Edge. Now the Edge screen has much more options than before. Now finally it has become usable. Of course, they're not without any cons, and I think the first cons would be the price. Definitely they're expensive.
at just under 49,000 and 57,000. They are flagship. Of course, they are flagship, but now there are a lot of phone that provide very good specs at less than 1/3 of the price. Now, considering that, still I think Samsungs have kept the price slightly on the pricier side. Number two is that they are metal and glass, so they're fingerprint magnet all over. After all, the design and build quality hasn't changed much from the S6, and that many many of the journalists have spoken about during the MWC launch as well. And that's why I think the G5 got a slightly more attention from the journalists than the S7, because the S7 and S7 Edge, they are still brilliant phones because the S6 and S6 Edge were, but the design hasn't changed much. So they are typically a refined version of the S6 and the S6 Edge. So I mean, if you do not like those phones, then probably you won't like this. So those are the pros and cons. Now you have to decide. After all, in India we are very price sensitive, so after all the price obviously will play a key factor, but these are some of the best phones in the market, and specifically I think the camera is still class leading. If you like this video, please hit the like button, ask anything related to this, and we'll try to answer them all. Please subscribe to this channel if you like the way we do videos, and share this video, this vlogging style video, to share the love. Thank you. Ciao.